Hello, this is part 2 of practicing Recuerdos de Alhambra. I'm going to be using the material from my new book called Play Your Dream Pieces, different practice approaches that make playing pretty much any piece possible by simplifying the piece and practicing in certain ways. So I'm going to talk today mostly about technical things. In the last video I talked about a lot of musical stuff. So I'm going to talk in quite a lot of detail about some different approaches and things that you can do to practice this piece. So the first issue I want to talk about is a big one for me, and I think a big one for a lot of guitarists, and that is the juncture between certain notes and making them smooth and connected. As soon as you have a shift, it's really difficult to maintain a sense of connection. We can very quickly lose the connection that we actually want. So in Recuerdos we have many examples of this, even right in the first measure or so. So right here we have a little shift, and then we have a bigger one. So there are a couple of things you can do to sort of help this a little bit. The main thing is you need to think about what finger is just before the shift. What is the movement that you're making just before the shift? So in the case of the tremolo, it's really important to think about our eye finger, because that's the last movement that we're going to make until then the bass note following, and that's going to sort of lead us into the next note. So, for example, here, again, index, thumb, index, thumb. Okay, so that's sort of identifying the movement that can create the problem. Also, obviously, it has to do with the left hand, but I'm just focusing on the right hand for now. So, the right hand, if we just think about making that index finger long, a long stroke, a lengthier tone. For me, there are a couple of spots that weren't so great there. It does help to slow it down a little bit. Alright, so I'm giving that index finger a little bit of emphasis, and I'm really trying to listen to connect that with the next bass note that happens with the thumb. So that's sort of the right hand attitude there. So the left hand, I think with the left hand it is a lot to do with listening. Listening will really help make the timing better. But we can think of moving fast. Fast and economically to the next position. And I think what will help with this is if you go to the first part of the book here, let me find the page. If you go to page 8 of my book, I've condensed the piece into a chord progression. So like so. So if you practice that, then you're really focusing on the left hand there, and try and connect those chord shapes together. So if you combine those two ideas, the index finger being lengthened and accented and emphasized slightly, and connecting to the next bass note, and then practicing the chords like that, and really focusing on the left hand and connecting those notes together. I think that can help that problem of shifting, and it's very easy to create short something like that. I mean, even in a scale you can very easily cut or make that shift abrupt. So that's something you can think about, the juncture. So the next point is that tremolo can sound, because of the nature of the pattern, tremolo can sound kind of stagnant. You can get bogged down in those 30-second notes. It's quite easy to do that, especially when you're nervous. I have a tendency to do that when I'm nervous, and it can really disturb the flow of tremolo especially. So something you can do to combat this is think about these 30-second notes leading into the following bass note. And you can actually practice it like this. So if you think of the 30-second notes as triplets heading to the next bass note, like this. Right? And that can help you give a sense of flow. We do this in the major section. That flow towards those quick notes heading towards the next bass note. Everything's good, has a sort of forward direction. Rather than excuse me. So I've talked about rhythm a little bit there, and I want to follow through with that concept a bit more now. An interesting little exercise that I've created for the tremolo, where you subtract one finger from the pattern. So the pattern is P-A-M-I. So I'm going to start by subtracting A. So you're going to get this kind of funky rhythm. That A finger. So the next step to do is subtract the M finger, so you're going to get an even funkier rhythm. Okay, so this is example 10A, B, and C on page 15 of the book. So I subtracted M there. Now I'm going to subtract I. Okay, so you've sort of, by doing that, you've practiced each different movement. You've gone P-A-M, which I just did, and then you've done P-A-I and P-M-I. You've sort of broken it up into the different possibilities there. And it's a really useful exercise. It really is very telling. Often you'll find that one of them will be weaker than the others. I find, for example, subtracting M is quite tricky. also subtracting I, so just doing P, A, M. Yeah, that's a tricky one because, I mean, for most people the A finger is one of the weaker fingers. So when you're focusing on just P, A, M, P, A, M, P, A, M, it really sort of is very telling. It sort of brings out that weakness that we have in the finger. So I really encourage you to try and practice the whole piece with one of those subtractions. So imagine, you know, just minusing A and just doing the whole piece. Really challenging exercise there. The next topic is preparation. So preparation is something you hear about, it's talked about quite a lot in today's pedagogy, in the modern guitar pedagogy. Preparation is, it can apply to both hands. A lot of people apply it to the right hand especially. For example, if you're playing an arpeggio, and you're going from the third string to the second string to the first, you would prepare like that. So once the index finger is plucked, then the middle finger plants or prepares on the second string, and then once that's plucked, the ring finger plants on the first string, and then you would restart that. So that's right hand preparation. Preparation can also happen in the left hand too. And this is a really good exercise for developing speed. I like to do bursts where I prepare the first group of notes, and then the second group I do a burst, so I do it in double time, and I keep the feeling of the preparation. It's a really good exercise for sort of developing speed and security. It makes you feel, you know, like your hands are always on strings. Very handy when you're feeling nervous especially, and sometimes it can feel like things are flying around a bit. If you've practiced in preparation, it can help with that a little bit. So you can apply this to the tremolo as well, to both hands, but particularly the right hand. So if you start to speed it up, what you should hear, if you keep that preparation, is something like this. That was a bit sloppy. I'm going to try that again. You don't want the tremolo to sound like that, but the idea is that you can probably also tell you're making the movements very small and very economical. And like I said before, your fingers are always feeling like they're on the string or on the strings. Okay, so that's, and then once you have control of that, you can actually change the level of preparation that you have. So you can make it sound like that. I don't know if you can hear, I don't know if the microphone quality is good enough for you to hear the little clicks. adjust the preparation and you kind of get rid of those clicks. And that's kind of the perfect, I guess, level of preparation that you want to have in actual performance. So you can apply preparation to many different things. I showed you with scales. You can also do it to arpeggios, for example, Villa-Lobos Etude 1. So the first one is very highly prepared but slow, and then you double that time. I'm going to apply this to Saw's Etude, I can't remember the number, but this one. Right, so with preparation of both hands, speed it up and keep the feeling of preparation, keep that feeling like you're always on the strings there and thinking ahead. That's another benefit of preparation. It actually forces you physically to think ahead. You have to know the next notes or note, otherwise your hand won't move there in advance. So in advance, both hands won't move there in advance. The right hand is a bit more subtle there with preparation. The left hand is pretty sort of screaming out there. If you don't know what's coming next and you're trying to prepare the way with the left hand, your left hand will just sort of not know what to do. So back to Recuerdos. You could apply this again. You could play the chord progression. Again with the left hand. Very useful device. A lot of guitarists talk about preparation, so you can probably find more information about that online if you want to. So the next and final couple of things I want to talk about: 5-finger tremolo. So using the pinky. Why don't I go to the major section again? I've sort of been doing this first measure over and over. So all I do to practice this, you could do it a couple ways, but I like to do it so that the thumb and the pinky play together, and then you do the tremolo. Really good exercise. What it does is, I think, a couple things. One is it balances out the hand. I'm a big fan of sort of trying to involve everything, all the fingers, in my technical work. A lot of guitarists neglect the pinky, so you've got these kind of strong, and the pinky is kind of just left there. So I think by involving the pinky, you kind of balance out the hand a little bit more. I think it also helps the A finger. If you can get a beautiful tone and have control of the pinky, I think it's a lot easier to have the same happen for the ring finger. You'll probably feel that if you haven't played with the pinky before. At first, you'll feel a sort of a workout happening in this part of the hand. You don't want to exert too much energy or force. You don't want to feel too much strain. I even suggest, excuse me, practicing maybe just on an open string, just to get the feel of. Maybe try like I and pinky. before you dive into the tremolo, if this is new for you, then I talk about that in my warm-up video a little bit. I really like using this as part of my warm-up, using the pinky to get the whole hand working. I find thumb and pinky is a really good one because sort of like the outer parts of your hand, get that going. You can also apply it, if you want to do something a bit more advanced, you could apply it to etude, Villa-Logos etude number 1. I'll do it slowly. So I guess these 4 fingers are playing on the first 5 strings, and then use the pinky for the top string. You'll find that it's quite difficult to get a nice tone. I'm struggling a little bit to get a nice tone right now with that finger, or at least a tone that's equal or matched to the other fingers. Very good challenge though. I see, we have this finger here, why not use it? So the final thing I want to talk about is applying the tremolo pattern to scales. So a lot of guitarists probably practice scales. M and I, A and I, and A and M, the standard sort of those 3 groupings, pairings. You can also include your thumb, so then you would have P, I, P, M, P, A, and then you can include your pinky, so you'd have P, and then your pinky, and then I, pinky, middle pinky, and ring pinky. So if you do that, you'll have all of the possible pairings of your fingers. But you can also practice the tremolo pattern, so P, A, M, I. You can do this in a couple of ways. You could do, excuse me, you can do like 4 strikes per note. Or you could do 1 strike per note. Let me see if I get a good angle here. That one's a bit more challenging because your hand is crossing strings a lot and sort of unpredictably at random. It's also good to develop a sense of accent. I don't think you want everything to be equal. If anything, the thumb is not necessarily louder, but I think it's more accented. Especially on the main downbeat. Provides the main pulse groups. So if you do this with scales, you can also think of that. And of course then you can also try and do dynamic shaping as well. I can start softer than that. Right, so if you can get a really nice crescendo and then a decrescendo using the tremolo pattern, I think that will help a lot once you put that into practice. One of the really most tricky musical things of the tremolo, aside from some of the things I've already talked about, is the dynamic shaping. So whatever you can do to try and work and improve and enhance that. I think this is a really good method to play scales using the tremolo pattern and really strive for a very convincing sense of crescendo and decrescendo. I could probably do a little better than that, but I hope you can use some of these approaches to the tremolo, and let me know. I'd love to hear from you if you have any comments, if you've tried anything in particular and found it to work or not work. And the book is now ready. It's on my website. It's available for digital download. It's $10. And I'm really excited to have released that, and I hope the videos help. You know, if you do get the book, I hope that the videos will help explain some of what's in the book a little bit more. Obviously I can't put all of these words into a book, otherwise it would be very wordy and a bit vague maybe. So if you haven't watched the first part, I really recommend doing that, because it's very foundational to what the book is about, simplifying things. I guess what I've done now is probably complicated things a bit more now. Once you start working on the sort of technique part, I think that's important to do. I think simplifying and making more complicated, you kind of have it balanced, and then when you play the actual thing, you've done the opposite extremes, and it should be, everything should be kind of under control, I guess, musically and technically, once you've done those outer extremes. So I guess that's it for now. I'll be doing more videos soon, so keep in touch. Thanks for listening.